Presents from the National Hot Rod Association, Championship Drag Racing. Great American Midwest, home of National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, and the 19th annual running of the NHRA Springnationals. An all-star field of competitors has made performance the story of this event. In qualifying, drag racing's all-time quickest car obliterated another track record, the National Trail elapsed time mark. Gary Beck kept the car under control as a right front tire came off on the run that netted him a 5.47-second elapsed time.
Sounds like we need an improvement in front wheels and tires. This has been happening a lot.
Well, we've got these tires are a little different, if you notice, and we've had no trouble all year long with them, but it's what it does is these tires are good to 300 miles an hour, where the tires that most guys run are 200-mile-an-hour tires. But this is the first time we've had any trouble with them. But the track is a little choppy right down in there, and if you're just skipping along and then just bang her pretty hard, you might upset the tire.
While Beck was dominating the qualifying in Top Fuel, Don Prudhomme was doing some record-setting of his own in funny car. Prudhomme's season to this point has been troubled. The performance of his car, less than spectacular. But the many-time funny car champion displayed some of his awesome power in a qualifying attempt that set a new National Trail speed record. A mark of over 249 miles an hour put Prudhomme in the record book.
Well, you know, you've got a lot of track records. They don't mean that much anymore, but that speed tells you that you're on the right track for elimination.
Yeah, it tells you we got a little bit of power. We're happy with it.
Okay.
Prudhomme back on track again. While all this action has been taking place on the quarter-mile racetrack, Steve Evans has been examining the racetrack itself.
I'm down here at the very far end of National Trail Raceway. When this track was built back in the early 60s, the shutdown area was more than adequate for the cars of the period. But now, with the top classes going almost 100 miles an hour faster than they used to, you'll find a unique piece of safety equipment down here. It's called the net. In fact, in this case, it is a double net. The idea is to catch a dragster, a funny car, whatever, if the parachute and the brake should fail. How well does the net work? Well, we all found out yesterday when California funny car driver Mike Dunn gave it the supreme test.
Mike Dunn and the ride of his life. It's almost unbelievable the intensity of the fire. The parachutes vaporized. The right rear tire explodes, shattering the fiberglass body. From another angle, you can see that right rear slick explode, breaking the body in half. The car thunders into the net. First, the initial contact, then thrown sideways into the second net. The car, ensnared in the nylon web of the catch nets, comes to a sudden stop. And with the smoke rising from the burning tires, engine, and grass, Mike Dunn releases his safety harness, jumps from the roll cage, and hard as it is to believe, Mike Dunn was able to run to safety.
Mike Dunn, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
One of the worst accidents I've ever seen at this end of the racetrack.
Wasn't that bad.
I looked it from here. I think when you see the tape, you'll believe me. The net definitely prevented what could have been an awful bad situation.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Throttle hung wide open, and reached for the fuel shot, and then blew up and backfired and everything else.
So everything went wrong that could go wrong, really.
Yeah. I was pulling as hard as I could to get that throttle back, and something got hung up somewhere.
I'll let you get up to your crew. They're concerned as we are.
Mike Dunn, one cool driver under intense pressure. The 1983 NHRA Spring Nationals brought to you by Goodyear, makers of Eagle high-performance radials and Wrangler all-season radials for light trucks. And by Brute. Make every day your Brute day with Brute by Fabergé. And by Motorcraft. Quality parts for all makes of cars. Motorcraft exceeds the need. We'll be right back to the Spring Nationals in just a moment. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and along with Steve Evans, we're here to bring you all the excitement of the Spring Nationals. As you have seen, one of the big stories is in Top Fuel Eliminator. Let's go to round number 2 action. Jody Smart rolling forward to do his burnout. There were a total of 16 cars that qualified in Top Fuel Eliminator. We are now to the second round. There will be 8 cars involved in this round of racing. Jody Smart is up against Gene Snow. Jody from San Antonio, Texas, a warehouse distributor of high-performance parts, while Gene Snow owns an oil company in Fort Worth, Texas. Snow was involved in an interesting race in the first round when Snow in the near lane raced Jim Head, a hometown favorite from Columbus, Ohio. Snow began to build a big lead right off the starting line as Jim Head's engine exploded into a ball of flame. Head was able to bring the car to a safe stop, but the engine, as you can see, just obliterated itself about 200 feet off the starting line.
Well, Jim, it's been an awful long time since I've seen one that ablaze at the starting line.
I didn't see it, but I hear it was pretty good.
What causes something like that?
Well, in this case, the motor got pretty hot on the starting line. I think we just lost some pistons. It shook real hard, and I think it shook something off of it.
It's at moments like that you're darn glad the engine's in the back, huh?
Yeah, I guess I am, but I guess we're talking about switching to funny cars, so maybe it won't be in the back next year.
Gene Snow had a relatively easy go of it in the first round, but this round of racing, maybe not quite so simple, as Jody Smart has been close to winning an NHRA national title several times. He has finished in the runner-up spot, but has been a bridesmaid thus far, has yet to make it to the winner's circle in Top Fuel racing. Smart, having laid out of racing for a number of years, as did Gene Snow, came back in the Top Fuel ranks. Both cars have done exceptionally well. And it is an instant smoke off the tires for Jody Smart, and Gene Snow, with an outstanding elapsed time of 5.82 seconds, wins his second round race and moves into the semifinals. For Jody Smart, it'll be another day before he comes in for a shot at a Top Fuel win. Our next pair of cars fired and rolling into the water. The start of the smoky burnout, Scott Coletta against the defending world champion, Shirley Muldowney. No person had won a Top Fuel World Champion title more than once until Shirley Muldowney came along, and she has done it 3 times. Shirley from Mount Clemens, Michigan, is racing the son of Connie Coletta, Scott Coletta. Scott had the thrill of his young racing career in the first round as he was matched against the low qualifier and the new track record holder, Gary Beck. But Beck fell victim to a loss of traction, and Scott Coletta moved out to a lead and continued to hold it as the quickest car in the field fell in the first round of racing to Scott Coletta.
Well, Top Fuel dragster racing has gotten very competitive, and by no means does this racing team over here think they got a handle on everybody that's over working on their cars right now. We're out today, but we'll be back racing and winning some rounds at the next ones. And the end of the year, we hope to be on top of the pile.
Not an easy go in either the first or second round for Scott Coletta. First round, he defeats Gary Beck. Now he is up against the reigning world champion, Scott Coletta, in the near lane. Shirley Muldowney in the far lane. A good start by both cars. Scott Coletta losing traction momentarily, and Shirley Muldowney wins it by about a car length. A 5.99 second elapsed time for Shirley Muldowney moves her into the semifinals. Back at the starting line, the engine's coming to life for our next pair of cars. Crew Chief Ron Barrow injecting some gasoline into that engine to get it started as Connie Coletta sits behind the wheel and awaits the word to bring it up to the starting line. Connie Coletta, the father of son Scott, who you saw just a moment ago, and head of Coletta Flying Service and this two-car racing team. The burnout, long and smoky, getting those tires hot as Connie Coletta squares off against Doug Kerhulis. Kerhulis from Bakersfield, California, is one of the rising stars in championship drag racing, while Connie Coletta, a veteran, his first major event win goes back to 1964. Coletta and Kerhulis in round number 2. Steve has had a chance to catch up with Shirley Muldowney.
Shirley, I saw you just talking to Scott, apologizing for something. What happened?
Well, the sun reflected off the pre-stage light, and I couldn't see it, and it just took me an extra couple minutes to get in the pre-stage, and I might have made him wait.
Yeah, he said good race. He was very happy to be that close to you. Nice hole shot, 500 ahead of Scott.
But we run a 599. I think we got a junk blower.
So a new supercharger will go on the pen car?
Yeah, we can find one.
So Shirley Muldowney one step closer to what could be a 5th Spring Nationals title.
Shirley starts the search for a supercharger, while Connie Coletta and Doug Kerhulis are at the starting line concentrating on the electronic starting device, the Christmas tree. The tree will go green and both cars should leave the line together. The RPMs on the engines begin to mount, and it's a great start for Doug Kerhulis in the far lane. He's got about a car length lead, and he wins it over Connie Coletta with a fine 5.82 second elapsed time. The Bakersfield Flash is into the semifinals. We watch again, you see just a wisp of smoke off of Coletta's tires, and that may have been the loss of traction that could have cost him the car length that was the lead for Doug Kerhulis as they crossed the finish line.
Well, Doug Kerhulis with a 582 has suddenly become a big factor here at the Spring Nationals. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We put a little fuel pump on it. It wasn't hurt at the last room, but we put a little pump on it and stepped on a little bit for Connie, of course, because he's the one that will come up and bite you every time.
This is the farthest you've gone in quite a while.
You know what? This is the farthest we've been in 2 years top fuel racing. We've won smaller events in California and around divisional races, but this is a pleasure.
2 to go.
You bet. Thank you.
And obviously pleased, Doug Kerhulis heads back to the pits to get ready for the semifinals as our final pair of cars come out of the burnout area in this, the second round of racing. It is Richard Tharp in the far lane from Dallas, Texas, against Californian Denver Schutz from Fresno. Schutz is a raisin grower. Richard Tharp has to be one of the most worried drivers in this second round of competition. It was back in the first round as he was racing Rance McDaniels that Tharp ran into problems. The car went up in smoke right off the starting line. He pulled ahead of McDaniels, won the race, but exploded an engine. A ball of fire and the supercharger leveled, hanging off to the side.
Richard, I guess the only good thing we could say is you won.
Yeah, that ain't too good right now.
We got another motor?
Yeah, we got 2 more motors. We ain't got another blower. Oh, I don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Would like to say a good job at driving, Richard. Just to not put it in the net under those situations was incredible.
Well, thank you.
Tharp and his crew went back to the pits, and Steve followed.
The one piece of equipment you hope you never have to use in the middle of a big drag race is the engine hoist, but it's in full operation in the Richard Tharp camp. The blower explosion in round number 1 has forced the Kilpatrick and Cannell team to change engines, so the spare power plant going in right now. It's not as simple as it might seem, because when a blower explosion happens like that, it's very, very hard on throttle linkage and fuel lines. A lot of broken bits and pieces that can be very, very time-consuming. Richard and the crew don't have any time to be talking to us. We're going to stay out of their way and hope they make it into the lanes for round number 2.
Steve, we know he got the engine in, but the question is, how good is it? Richard Tharp in the far lane against Denver Schutz in the near lane. Schutz, one of the drivers from the West Coast that is starting a national event tour, and he red lights. He leaves the starting line too soon, giving an automatic victory to Richard Tharp. He did not have to test that engine. What a break for Richard. A tough break for Denver Schutz. Meantime, back in the Shirley Muldowney pit area, her son John and the crew installing a supercharger. borrowed from Jody Smart. As they prepare Shirley's car to race Gene Snow in the semifinals, Doug Gerhulis will go against Richard Zarp at the Spring Nationals.